Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. In it together and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, presenting Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Services. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their lives. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. And Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. Coping with COVID, brought to you by SCDHEC. In it together, the Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connections.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Good Thursday afternoon to you. I am Tre Tailor, and you are watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Last month, we featured 2 shows about domestic violence, and we are continuing our conversation about this tragic issue with Dr. Sonia Lewis. She'll discuss the legal side of the issue and all of the advocacy she does. Dr. Lewis, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And then Bethany Williams, who actually joined us last month, will talk about services offered at the Family Resource Center. Bethany, great to see you again.
Thank you for having me, Tre.
Absolutely. Ladies, thank you so much. We look forward to a great conversation. We'll talk about that and more coming up next on Coping with COVID. But first, your COVID community updates. Well, the COVID vaccine is now available for children ages 5 through 11, with COVID being the 6th leading cause of death in United States children. SCDHEC says they are ready to administer at least 60,000 doses right now, with more on the way. The Pfizer vaccine is 91% effective in preventing COVID in kids and will be available at over 250 locations in the state, including the Health Department, CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, Sam's Club, Prisma Health, Lexington Medical Center's community location at Brooklyn Baptist Church, plus your local pediatrician's office. And the state is working with the Department of Education to make sure the vaccines are available at all local schools. Now, as far as side effects, it's pretty much the same as in adults. We talked to Dr. Linda Bell yesterday on the show, and she said some children have experienced chills, aches, sore arms. The dosage is lower than with adults and teens. And like I said, as Dr. Bell said yesterday on the show, kids will need a second shot about 3 weeks after their first shot. For more information on the COVID vaccine, consult your child's doctor. And for more information on vaccination locations, visit the Vax Locator page at SCDHEC's website. And 'tis the season for deer, and I don't mean Rudolph. I'm talking about the ones that will run in front of you on the highway. I lost one of my favorite cars experiencing that. AAA is cautioning drivers to slow down and watch for deer, especially now because it's mating season, where you will see more than one deer than usual. More deer than usual. Deer are most active in the morning and early evening. And remember, if you see one, you're likely to see more. SCDHEC has your most up-to-date list of times, dates, and location for COVID testings and vaccinations in and around South Carolina. Visit scdheck.gov for more information. As we said, you can also visit the Vax Locator page on the DHEC website for information about vaccinations for children and for adults. COVID vaccines are being handled at the VA for all vets. So again, go to the VA website or call the number on the screen for more information if you're a veteran. Kroger pharmacies are offering the COVID vaccination. You can see the information there on the screen. CVS is also offering vaccination at locations, including those at Target stores. As we mentioned earlier, Brooklyn Baptist Church has a vaccine clinic that's open 7 days a week, and they are also administering the children's COVID vaccine. And then the library has free self-collection kits for COVID tests. kits. You can get 5 per week at any of the 16 Richland County Library locations. If you need a ride to get your vaccine, don't miss your shot. The Comet bus system is giving free rides to get your vaccination. And if you need help getting your vaccination or making an appointment to get your vaccination, Get Set Up is helping seniors and other folks that are technically challenged to help them make their vaccine appointment. FEMA is initiating COVID funeral reimbursement. If you lost a loved one due to COVID, please log on to the website or call the number for FEMA. You can see that on the screen also, and you can get information about getting a reimbursement. The SC Bar Association and SC Legal Services has a toll-free number and website for rental and mortgage help. And Lexington County has a bill assistance program. Also, SC Housing and Dominion Energy has an assistance program for rent and utilities. SC Housing also has a frontline workers home buying assistance program. And SC Hopes, that's a 24-hour assistance line from the South Carolina Department of Mental Health. If you or someone you know is having some challenges coping with COVID, please contact SC Hopes. A couple of job fairs are going on, including Walmart that is doing a job fair today and tomorrow is the last day, and that's in Pageland. As you can see, the information is on the screen. They're also building 2 additional distribution centers in South Carolina, so they need folks for that. In addition to Walmart, there is another hiring event that's going on, and Dominion Freight Line is doing a hiring event. It's virtual, and that's next week. The West Columbia Trucking Company is looking for drivers, and you can see the basic qualifications. You've got to be 21 years of old. You have to at least have a truck driving experience or recent graduate of a truck driving school through Old Dominion, clean driving record, and a valid commercial driver's license. And the benefits are really, really good. The benefits include dental, health, and vision benefits, short and long-term disability, flex spending wellness program, and a 401k. If you need a job or know someone who is, please share this information. Hey, speaking of this information, all of it will be scrolling at the bottom of the screen throughout the show, so please be sure to check it out. Please continue to post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses. You're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. I'm Tre Tailor, and thank you so much for joining us. Hey, Coping with COVID is streaming live on the Tailor Made production page. Please go over on Facebook and hit like and share and follow. Not only will you be able to watch Coping with COVID Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 2 p.m., but also First Monday with George Wallace, Fun Day Monday with George Wallace. You can also get all of your COVID-related updates. We've got a lot of great resources on that page. We also are streaming live on the Coping with COVID YouTube page. Please go over there and hit the subscribe button. We would love to see you on our channel, on the YouTube channel. We also have a presence on Instagram and also on Twitter. Listen, if you have a question or a comment for any of our guests, please put it in the chat. We'll be sure to get it to you. And again, please continue to post and share. Mitchell Peace Joy Jen asked to please show the deer information at the end of the show. I sure will, Mitch. Ariel, if you can remind us to show that deer information. You know what? I'm telling you, I'll never forget. I guess it was about 2 or 3 years ago. I was driving down 26 coming from Spartanburg. I was working the Marianne Williamson campaign coming from Spartanburg from an engagement and just riding along, and then boom, I didn't even see the deer. Totally lost my car, my little convertible that I loved. I digress. But Mitchell, I will certainly we'll certainly show that information, and actually we'll post it on the page. Dr. Sonia Lewis is a domestic violence and sexual assault survivor. The sought-after speaker travels across the country sharing her incredible story of triumph over tragedy and advocating for more resources and tougher domestic violence laws. She joins us today as we continue our conversation on domestic violence awareness. Hey, Dr. Lewis, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here to talk about this subject. We have to get more engaged with talking about domestic violence in South Carolina.
Yeah, well, tell me what, as you travel, what do you find lacking in laws and resources for domestic violence survivors?
What I find lacking is that they'll lock up a perpetrator but he'll be back out within 24 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. They don't
24 hours.
Within 24 hours, most abusers are back out on the street, and unfortunately victims are still in the house or still in the home and haven't had sufficient time to be relocated to a safe place.
Why is that? What because so obviously there's something lacking in the laws to keep an abuser in jail. What's the problem?
I definitely, one of the things that I lobby for strongly in South Carolina, based on, the rate of abuse and death in South Carolina for women, is to have longer stays with, incarcerated, because that allows the victim enough time to get to a safe place. The laws need to be tougher all around. I mean, but especially here in South Carolina, we definitely need to have a mandatory amount of time that perpetrator is held incarcerated, because has to be sufficient time to move women and children.
Yeah, that's crazy to me, Dr. Lewis. So why 24 hours? Why not longer? I mean, if you've clearly committed a crime, because you can get bonded out.
Yeah, they can bond out. And again, South Carolina laws overall, a lot of the laws are not tough enough on perpetrators, which is why we see the same people victimizing over and over and over again, because the laws, and it's going to start with the legislator taking a look. We can put bills forward for all kinds of things, but we're not concentrating enough on crimes against people, victims, where there are true victims, where somebody's life is at stake.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to ask too. So do you think it's just that they're not valuing, are they not valuing the life of the person that has been abused, hit, beat up, or whatever? Or, and it may be both, or just not recognizing how serious a crime it is. I mean, if you're locked up for something like this, why are you getting out? I don't get it.
Absolutely. I don't think that, I'm not sure, exactly what the issue is, but I know that I've been lobbying for a long time, and I've been saying the same thing. And, I lobby with several different groups, and I'm always out front saying, help us. We're dying at epidemic rates. Domestic violence in South Carolina is an epidemic. Right. And the only way, as much effort, time, and money as we're putting into the COVID pandemic, we need to be pouring additional resources into domestic violence, because South Carolina for the past 20 years has been in that top 10. And oftentimes we've been number one in the rate of death where men kill women in domestic violence relationships.
Unbelievable. We're talking to Dr. Sonia Lewis. She is a domestic violence and sexual assault survivor and sought after speaker. Domestic Violence Awareness Month was last month. We did 2 shows last month, but there was so much more information that I wanted to share. We asked Dr. Lewis to come on and join us. So what do people need to do, Dr. Lewis, to help make the laws tougher?
The best thing that you can do is go to your representatives. Let them know that it's an issue. It's an issue. And if 1 in 3 women in South Carolina are being abused in some way, shape, or form, it's happening in a lot of houses. And in order for us to make this a genuine issue that somebody can put forth some effort to make the changes that we need to see, we need everybody talking about it. We need faith-based organizations. Oftentimes, as I was going through my experience, 18 years worth of domestic violence was sitting in the church, and it was not talked about. Faith-based organizations, we need them to step forward. We need them to support us, and we need to go to the legislature and say, we're pouring a lot of money into a lot of things. We're bringing breweries into South Carolina and doing some other things, but we need to be focused on women dying at the hands of people that should be protecting them.
Yeah. So what about resources? I mean, you advocate for laws and for resources. What resources are lacking? What would you like to see?
We definitely need additional shelters. We definitely need communities, enough information to get out into the community, to be boots on the ground. During the pandemic, South Carolina dropped to number 6, which is still not good because we're still in that top 10 for a state of this size. However, I don't believe that that's a true reflection of the domestic violence incidents in South Carolina. I think due to COVID, it got underreported. So I still believe that the numbers, were even higher during the COVID epidemic. It's just that they were underreported. So I definitely believe that additional resources are a place to go. A lot of the shelters closed down due to COVID. So we definitely need safe places, safe havens. We need to be able to get the word out so that victims can have a safe place to go for themselves and their children.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Bethany in the next segment about children because I know she specifically deals with children who have experienced and watched, and been victims of domestic violence or child mistreatment. But what do you find that survivors and their children need that they're not getting in addition to some place to stay? Do people just not understand?
A lot of times they need basic things like sometimes a cell phone. If I know when I was going through my experiences, the first thing that my abuser did was he went through that cell phone. He reviewed everything that was in my cell phone. But sometimes if you have that secret cell phone, that one that when he takes your phone, he can't see that you're contacting Sister Care or other organizations,
right.
or that he takes your phone, you still have a stash away phone that you can call 911 if you're in trouble. So it could be basic needs, even things such as food, because oftentimes victims are cut off from finances. That's one way that they punish you. They use the finances to punish you. So a lot of times I went without lunch because I didn't have lunch money, even though I worked. He controlled all the finances. So, basic, just things that we don't even think about, basic needs. A victim of domestic violence could be a lifeline for them.
Yeah, I know that you also work on safety plans and you help survivors report and do their filing. Tell us what that looks like.
I actually recently had a call through my group, One Common Cause. I had a call that there was a victim in distress. We get that all the time. Can you please come? What should I do? And my first thing is I'm on my way. Call the police, call 911. And I oftentimes will beat the police before they even get there. I'm there because I want to, first of all, I had no one with me when I went through it. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to say. And a lot of times, during that time, which was the late 90s, early 2000s, the police seemed hostile to me, so I didn't want any other victim to experience that. So I often will be there with them. I let the police know that, hey, I'm here and I will, check you if I have to, because you're going to handle this victim with kid gloves because this is a victim as any other victim of any other crime. But oftentimes police, they don't take victims of domestic violence seriously. And I even heard an officer say one time, she's just going to be back with him tomorrow. But that wasn't for him to say.
Right. And it could have been true, but true. Yeah. Today you're here. So help me today.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Dr. Sonia Lewis is with One Common Cause. She is a domestic violence and sexual assault survivor and a advocate for tougher laws and more resources for domestic violence sufferers. You told us a little bit about your story, Dr. Lewis, which I'm sure is why you're so passionate about helping survivors now. Can you share with us what happened?
In my story, I was a victim of domestic violence for about 18 years.
Oh my God.
I would often have money withheld from me, even gas money, even though I worked every day. I went to college every day, but oftentimes what people didn't know was that I was hungry, or that I was worried about if I was going to have enough gas in my car to get home. Because there are several types of domestic violence, and whether mine was often physical, but it was also very much financial, very controlling. So going through that and living with that for as long as I did, because I always said it was for my kids. But what I found out today, now that my kids are adults, was that I made it worse by staying.
And why? Why did you make it worse? And you're right. People do say that. They say, "Well, I want to keep the kids with their dad, and I want a unit, a normal family unit." Why was it not good for your kids? Why did you recognize that?
My children started to talk to me about their mental health.
Mm.
You
Because
know,
they could see what was going on.
absolutely. My oldest son talked to me at one, and he's been through the military. And when he got out, his mind was just so all over the place. And he told me, he said, "Mom, the thing that affected me the most was seeing your head bounce off the floor, and I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't protect you." And I talked to my baby as well recently about his mental health and the things that he's going through. And I traced that back to what he saw and what he heard, and even how he deals with females today. He's very standoffish. He's very reluctant to get into a serious relationship
Really?
because he's not afraid that he's gonna hit somebody. He's just afraid that after putting a lot into it, that
Not
in
gonna
the
work.
end it's just gonna end anyway, and it's just gonna break up anyway, because that's what he saw.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, we're going to talk to Brittany about this a little bit later, but we do the best we can at the time. You made the best decision you could at that time. And prayerfully, as an adult now, you're able to minister, talk to, advise, counsel, your boys so that they're able to have productive lives. So, how did your story end? How did you get out of the situation?
I was in working on my PhD, and I felt like, I've poured so much into me, into becoming the person, the woman, the Christian that I want to be. And here I am, still going to work, having people laugh at my black eyes and make fun of me. I worked in corporate America, and I would come in, and I always say it's two things that victims of domestic violence become good at: keeping secrets and telling lies.
Mm.
And I would come in, and they would think it was funny, and they would come up to me with my black eyes and, "So what happened to you this time?" Or make jokes about it. And I made sure that one thing I told myself was that when my children got in high school, my last two, I have 5 children. When the last two got in high school, that I was going to figure out a way to get out of there. And the very last time, I had hands put on me because I went to a soccer game to see my goddaughter play soccer early one morning. And it was just, I was determined that that was the last time. And I pretended to go to work one morning, and I stayed at the top of the hill. When I saw his car hit the corner, I had secured another place for me, and I went to my home and got my clothes, and I figured I'm going to get my kids on the back end, because I had my 3 youngest were in ninth, 10th, and 11th grade. And I said, they're safe, they're secure. Let me go secure myself, and then I'm going back for them. And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah. So, did he end up going to jail? What happened with your ex-husband? I guess he was your husband.
I ended up getting a restraining order, which I soon found was just a piece of paper because it was violated several times. But I fought. I went to Sister Care. They helped me devise a safety plan. I'm still in counseling. I've been safe and free for almost 15 years now, but I'm still in counseling because domestic violence is something that never leaves you.
Yeah.
I have night terrors. They're not even classified as nightmares. They're classified as night terrors, where I wake up screaming still from what happened to me for 18 years. And I'm still in counseling. But thank God for Sister Care for helping me to overcome and to become no longer a victim. I'm now a survivor. And that means something. I know what that means. No longer a victim. I am a survivor.
Right, right. So much so that you're helping others. Because you know what, Dr. Lewis, we all, and I've said this before, we all go through something, we all have experiences, but I think it takes it to another level when you can go through something, come through something, and then go back and help somebody else do the same thing. Because it's easier, maybe, just to leave it alone altogether. Because I'm sure every situation you go in, it drudges up those emotions, those feelings that you had in that same situation as that woman or man, that you are assisting, that you are helping. But I mean, to be courageous enough. And see, I think that's where the winner is. That's where you win over your past, where you win over your abuser, when you can, again, keep moving on and then help somebody else.
I agree. And my abuser once asked me, why can't you just get over it? And I always say, some things hit you so hard, hurt you so bad, cut you so deep that there is no getting over it.
Yeah.
I often rush myself to, why am I still in counseling? But the truth of the matter is, counseling helps me to cope.
Yeah.
And it allows me to be able to give back, because in so telling my story, I relive it. And so at the end of the night, I have to lay down with myself, and I have to, and I've recalled all of these incidents, which at times causes me to have flashbacks. But it's, if it's helping someone else, then it's so worth it. And that's why
Yeah.
I get up every day and I strap my boots on and I go out and I put myself at risk to help somebody else.
I want to talk about your books, but before that, so what can the community do to help you help these women and men who are in situations like this, domestic violence situations?
Be vigilant. Be vigilant. If one in three women in South Carolina are being abused, it's happening in your face. It's
Mm,
happening to your neighbor, your sister, your mom, somebody that you know. Be vigilant. The last thing you can do, the worst thing you can do, is to not do anything or not say anything. If you believe that someone is a victim, the worst thing you can do is say, couldn't happen to me, wouldn't happen to me, don't understand why you stay. But what you do say is, are you okay?
right.
And what can I do to help you? Those two things, if somebody had said that to me at any given point, I think my life would have been much different. But I didn't have that. I got myself out pretty much without much help from the people around me.
Wow. No friends, no family.
Well, one thing that abusers do is they isolate you
They
from friends
isolate
and
you.
family. That's the very first thing that they do. They isolate you. And my two brothers were in the military. They were out of the country. Most of my young life, they were out of the country. So, and they were in other states, traveling with the military. So that's what victimizers do. They search for opportune victims of opportunity so that they can prey on you. They're not going to prey on somebody that has the six big brothers that's going to come kick the door in.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
going to prey on a victim that they can continue to victimize over and over again. That's is as if they read from the same book.
Yeah, yeah, you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. I'm Tre Tailor. This is Dr. Sonia Lewis with One Common Cause. She is a domestic violence survivor and advocate for tougher domestic violence laws and resources. Tell us about your 3 books.
I do have 3 books. You can purchase them on Amazon. The first book is No More Rain in This Cloud. That book is my story. It talks about me from being a child sexual victim at the age of 8, all the way up through my life as a victim of domestic violence. My second book is called After the Rain. It's the second book, which is I got out of the marriage. I was able to get remarried and thrive. So it shows that thriving is possible.
Right.
And then my third book is called The Rainbow Sign. And in The Rainbow Sign, it talks about every woman has an it. My
Mm,
it is domestic violence. What's yours? And it goes through the lives of 5 women and their it. So,
yeah.
it encourages women that you can overcome whatever it is that affects your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, Dr. Lewis, thank you. Thank you so much, not only for joining us, but for the work that you're doing in the community. Like I said, it takes a lot to overcome something and then go back in the game, go back in the ring to
Absolutely.
help somebody else. And we applaud you for it. Again, Dr. Lewis's information is on the screen. If you need more information about her, if you would like for her to come and speak, if you know someone who is maybe in a domestic violence situation and you don't know what to say or do, if you are someone that is in a domestic violence situation and you need a help, a shoulder, an advocate, a friend, please contact Dr. Sonia Lewis with One Common Cause. Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Lewis. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm Tre Tailor, and you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. We are talking about domestic violence today. Even though last month was Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we are continuing our conversation with more resources and services. Bethany Williams with the Family Resource Center joins us next on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday life. But when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
Let Palmetto Painting Services take the worry out of your next home painting project. We can paint anything. Our business is about interior painting and exterior painting. We offer services for residential and commercial properties. Restore the life to your home with a fresh coat of paint from Palmetto Painting Services. References are available upon request. Give us a call at 803-546-4570 today.
The Comet gives me a reliable source of transportation.
It's very convenient to me, and they have wonderful drivers.
It's clean, and it builds community. It's fun to meet people.
It makes me feel like really independent. It's just fun.
Comet's always going to be there, and it gets me everywhere I need to go.
We try to ride every single day. Comet is our livelihood.
You're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Tre Tailor. Hey, we are broadcasting live on the Tailor Made Production page on Facebook. Please go over there and hit like and share and follow. And not only will you be able to get notifications as to when to watch Coping Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also First Monday, Fun Day Monday with comedian George Wallace. But you'll also get all of your COVID-related updates. We're also streaming live on YouTube. Please go over there and hit the subscribe button. We would love for you to do that. And also check us out on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube. Hey, don't forget that scrolling at the bottom of the screen, several resources are available as far as COVID testing, vaccinations, financial resources, jobs, and so much more. So please check out the bottom of the screen, and please post and share this information out because we're having such an important conversation today as we continue talking about domestic violence. Bethany Williams joins us. She's a licensed professional counselor with a decade of experience in mental health and human services. She's worked in state government, private practice, and in the South Carolina prison system. Her role at the Family Resource Center involves forensic interviewing, where she talks to children who may be witness to or victims of violence. Bethany, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm just sitting here so inspired. I love Dr. Lewis and everything that she shared. Like sometimes you feel like, you're in a fight alone, but to hear somebody so passionate, I was happy to hear her story and experience her story, and so glad that she's sharing it, on your platform and with so many people.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You can become discouraged when you hear so much going on, and you're in the game, and so you hear everything,
Yeah.
So you're right. And that's why I wanted to applaud her, because Bethany, it takes a lot of courage to go through something, like I said to her, and then go back in.
Oh my goodness.
And help somebody else.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're talking about unselfishness. You're talking about a soldier. You're talking about a warrior.
Purpose. Yeah.
Purpose.
Yeah. And she said that was her it. She had to. And sometimes survivors, have to go through the part of healing they need to go through in order to be able to help and to share their story. And I was so happy to hear her say, I'm still in therapy. I'm still
exactly.
in therapy. I just think that's so inspirational, that the impact of trauma is heavy. It's heavy. And of course, in my work, we see the impact of trauma on children.
Right.
But yeah, it was so good to hear her. I'm sorry.
No. You're right. I loved it too. I loved it too. So listen, let's talk about children, because so many times children obviously become adults who are affected, infected, and what types of behaviors do we see in children who have either been a victim of or been a witness to domestic violence?
So the formative years is something that we learn about when it comes to diagnosis and treatment. Formative years are ages 1 through 12. And so the experiences that we have from 1 through 12, the things that happen or don't happen, the things that we witness and see are the things that impact us most as adults. And so the children that I see children from ages 3 all the way up to sometimes 16, and they're telling me their story of either being a victim of physical abuse, sexual abuse, or witness to a crime, are often domestic violence. Sometimes they're the only ones in the room that saw it, Dre. They might be the only ones. And so the police is depending on their disclosure in order to, move forward with a case or get the perpetrator, to be in prison for longer than 24 hours, like Dr. Lewis was talking about. But for them, we see anxiety, depression, what we call hypervigilance, meaning that they are easily startled. They don't want to be left alone in rooms. It's difficult for them to settle because their environment is constantly filled with chaos.
It's in turmoil. Yeah.
Constantly filled with chaos. And so we know that getting children in a stable environment consistently can help with the healing of that. But it's very impactful. Oftentimes, perpetrators or either the guardians in the situation don't believe that kids hear. They say, well, we fight, but the children are not in the room, or, they may say, well, the children are away, but the children know what's going on. And so they come to us and they share that information. They may not witness it. Sometimes they may not see it, but they witness it in another way. They hear slamming, they hear kicking, they hear things breaking, loud noises through the night, fussing, cussing, yelling. And all of that is just as impactful, as if they were right there sitting
right there,
or experiencing the abuse themselves. And so there's something that happens in the brain that now you're in constant survival mode, because I don't know what's going to happen next. The person that I love and care for the most, my mom or my dad, is in danger. I have to constantly be vigilant about what's going on around in my environment. So it may show up in school where it's like this child is either sleeping in class or talking too much, anxious, has disciplinary issues and problems, but often because of what they may have seen or been exposed to in the home.
Yeah, I was going to ask you just that. What do we need to look for in family, friends, and in the school? So you say it could be talking a lot. It could be behavioral issues, sleeping in class because they're not sleeping at night because they're up, listening to this. Anything else we can be conscientious about?
So coaching is heavy in the work that we do. So, and I will say, I think too, specific in communities of color, Black families, what happens in this house stays in this house.
Stays in the house, yeah.
So that is one of the biggest barriers that I have to break down when I'm in the room interviewing a child. They'll say, one of the questions that we ask is, do you promise to tell the truth when we talk in this room? They might tell me I can't tell the truth. And so sometimes with teachers, they might notice, that the child is not sleeping or has behavioral issues and might ask certain questions, but the child is resistant and very reserved and doesn't want to share much about home life. And then when parents come to pick them up, they don't want to talk to you for long. They're trying to get out of your way. They don't want you to see what's happening. So, that cover of I can't tell, I can't show, you can't see. A parent who has a healthy home environment, it's like, come on in. I don't have a problem with you talking to my child.
Yeah.
And so that's what we run into often. That's a major sign. But again, just general behavioral issues. Like I said, not being able to settle. Oftentimes these kids get diagnosed with anxiety disorder,
ADD, ADHD, stuff like that.
Yeah. But how could they not be anxious when they don't have a calm environment? And so those are some of the signs in children.
Yeah. Wow. We're talking to Bethany Williams with the Family Resource Center, and we're covering domestic violence today. And Brittany is telling us about specifically children who have witnessed or been victims of violence. So, what resources, what do we do, as a teacher, as a friend, as a family member? What resources are available for these children? Because here's the thing, Brittany, they're there.
Yeah,
they're in the household, and they ain't going nowhere unless, of course, it becomes a situation where I guess they too are abused, and then they can be pulled out. Can they be? And I know I'm asking a couple of questions. Can they be pulled out even if they're not hit, but because the environment isn't healthy?
Oh yeah. So that can be defined as neglect or failure to protect, right? Because our jobs as parents are to provide our children with healthy living environments and protect them from danger, right? So absolutely a child can be pulled from a home if they are constantly witnessing domestic violence. They can also be charged, or what we call a case is indicated, meaning they discovered that something has happened. A case can be indicated for mental injury, because we know what the research says around children who are exposed to this on a regular basis. So they can absolutely be removed from the home if they are witnessing domestic violence. But your answer to what can we do? Teachers, counselors, whomever is in contact with the children can listen. Number one. The thing that I want to talk about that we should not do is ask a million questions.
Okay.
And I'll explain why.
And that's probably your tendency to start asking questions. I would do that.
Yeah. Now you do like, if you see a child is struggling, you might want to say like, hey, how's everything going? Are you okay? And
just a general question.
Right. And that's what I was talking about with that resistance. That's where you might notice that they shut down. They don't want to say much. But if a child begins to disclose and say, my mommy and my daddy got into a fight, that's where I mean, stop there. That's where you don't want to keep, well, what happened? Did mommy hit daddy? Did daddy hit mommy? Like, all of these questions. That's when it needs to be reported to either law enforcement or DSS. And in the field, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh. So mandated reporting is a requirement by most professionals in the school, in particular, teachers, counselors, principals.
They have to report.
They have to report when a child discloses something, and then leave it up to the process to play out the way it's supposed to. Because what happens is, if you ask too many questions, what happened? Then when I get into the room with a child and I'm trying to do the forensic interview, what they disclose to me may not add up to what they disclose to you. Now we have a credibility issue when it's time to go to court.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, because trauma processes in a way that the brain sometimes suppresses things that it doesn't want to feel or see. And so what I shared here might have been my experience, but my brain is recalling something different when I get into the room with you, because I'm traumatized.
Right.
So now we have to go to court and fight that,
Right.
And so yes, we should be watching out for our children. If we notice something, say something, ask a question. But when they say to you, I saw a fight, that's when it's time to report.
Right. We're talking to Bethany Williams with the Family Resource Center on Coping with COVID. She is talking today about domestic violence in children, whether they've seen it or been a part of it. So you say that teachers, counselors are required to report if they hear something. Is it the same? And I would imagine so if they see something, if they see scars, bruises on the child.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And in many of the cases that we have, the batterer is not only abusing the woman or the man, but also physical abuse towards the child. So now the victim, the adult victim, there's a victimhood there, but then also in the child as well. And so then you have a family system that can begin to show up differently. And so in cases like that, so we see, like Dr. Lewis mentioned, And we may not know for sure that the child is witnessing or being abused, but we see that the mom, and I say mom because most cases are in women, but we know it happens to men too. But the mom is showing up in a certain way. It's up to that mom if she wants to report, which is different from the children, right?
Right.
If the children disclose, we don't have a choice. We got to call law enforcement.
Because you're talking about a minor.
Exactly. But if it's a mom, sometimes asking the question, like you said, are you okay? Or what is the best way that I can help you?
Right.
Because we can put people in danger when we go making choices for
them.
adults. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's wow. That's great information to know, because like you said, your initial instinct is to help, to fix, or do what you think is the best thing, which may not necessarily be the best thing for that family.
Yeah, and victims are at highest risk when they leave their perpetrators. At the point that they do leave, we also often hear people say, why don't you just leave? Well, because I could die. So I have to have a strategy. I have to have a plan. And that's one of the
Dr. Lewis talked about that. So the strategy, because if you are leaving, obviously, and you're not thinking about it, you have not planned it out like Dr. Lewis did, and he or she, your abuser's right there. Like you said, it could incite anger, fear of abandonment, whatever else, other kind of emotions, and they may really fatally retaliate.
Exactly. And there has to be a plan for the children.
Right.
So, because perpetrators love to isolate, and all this is very strategic, victims from their family, sometimes the children have nowhere to go. So does that mean, can I find someone, or do I have to call DSS and try to get some support, get my children someplace where I know is safe so I can figure out how to disconnect from this batterer, and that helps because, of course, oftentimes we hear stories of people leaving in the middle of the night or sometimes in the middle of the day when they've just gotten to a point where I cannot take it anymore. But those situations are circumstances that children witness and play in their mind over and over and over again for the rest of their lives. I've heard children disclose to me, this is what happened climbing out the window. I don't want to share too much information. But those ages 1 through 12, those formative years are so important. And so finding a safe space for children, creating a safety plan, trying to find, financial support, emotional support, really helps with disconnecting from the batterer.
And so the Family Resource Center, do you guys provide resources or connect people, children and families with those resources, and what are they?
Yeah, so every child that comes here and is interviewed, and there is a case with law enforcement at DSS, those services are free for the children and for the family. So we provide advocacy, we help with locating shelters and providing like helping with transportation, them getting to where they need to go, also connecting them with other resources. And then we provide licensed counseling. So we provide trauma focused, it's a big word, trauma focused cognitive behavioral therapy, which is just a big word to say we help kids focus on the trauma so that we can try to desensitize and reduce the response to the trauma. So the hypervigilance, all those symptoms of PTSD, the depression. And so we are licensed and trained on specifically how to work with children. If you go to a doctor, you might you might go to a generalist, a doctor, and they're trained on lots of different things. We're trained on lots of different things too, but we focus and hone in on trauma as it relates to children, and also sexual survivors as well, adult sexual survivors of abuse as well. So counseling and advocacy service.
And are the services free?
Yes, they are free to the victim and their non-offending family member. So that means we do not serve batterers, but we do try to connect in the best way that we can batterer intervention services. But a lot of that is usually done through DSS. But
Right.
we're here for the families and the victims.
Daniel Lake says that question, why don't you just leave, is far too common. She says there's always some reason why. As one who lived through domestic violence, part of her reason, she says, for staying was fear for her and her daughter's lives. She says, thanks God I'm alive and free today, decades later. Thank you, Danielle, so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing your comment, and congratulations for leaving. Danielle, I don't know if you just joined us, but hit the rewind button and check out Dr. Sonia Lewis's testimony. She had a similar one to yours. She's an amazing domestic violence survivor and advocate, and for better laws and more resources. So thank you, Danielle, and Mitchell Peace George Jem, for watching. Please continue to post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses. You see Bethany Williams' information there at Family Resource Center. She's got the information for the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, the hotline.org, 800-799-SAFE. And all of those are numbers that people can call if they need it, Bethany.
Yes, and we like to share the national number because, we want people to be able to connect where they are. And also that hotline has a chat. If you go on that website, it's text start to 88788. And I love this. And so I'm so glad this was implemented for the National Domestic Violence Hotline, because sometimes you're in proximity to your batterer. And so I can't pick up the phone and call. I need to be able to, like Dr. Lewis was saying, have a phone that he can.
That was great. That was such great information. To me, that's one of the best suggestions I've heard as far as what to get someone in that situation. Yeah. Give them another phone that they can hide.
Absolutely.
That was good.
And then with that phone, they can send a text message instead of risking their lives by him overhearing a conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then also these websites have quick exits. And so you'll see, if you need to exit quickly, click here. And so if someone is over your shoulder, you can exit out of it, quickly without having trouble getting away from that screen so the batterer can see.
Wow. Bethany Williams with the Family Resource Center. Please contact her if you need more information, you need resources. And that is not her number, but Bethany, can you share your information?
Yeah. So our number is 803-425-4357. And the website is the familyresourcecenter.org.
All right, thefamilyresourcecenter.org and 803-425-4357, 803-425-4357 if you need more information from Bethany Williams and the Family Resource Center. Bethany, thank you again so much for coming on again to talk about the services you guys provide at the Family Resource Center. I know, and we talked about this before, I want to get you back to talk about your other company, the Elderberry Experience, because I'm fascinated about how you use Elderberry to help with this and some other things, since I take elderberry, as a matter of fact. So thank you again so much, Bethany Williams with the Family Resource Center, 803-425-4357. Danielle said, thank you, Ms. Williams, for very valuable information. She says she will listen to the replay to hear Dr. Lewis's testimony. Thank you, Danielle, so much for watching, and please continue to post and share. Bethany Williams with the Family Resource Center. Thank you, beautiful. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Trey.
Absolutely. Don't forget to take advantage of all of the resources that we shared today for domestic violence. We're going to have another show about domestic violence too, because I really want to get the male perspective, because males do experience domestic violence also. As a matter of fact, coming up tomorrow on Coping with COVID, we are live at Esther's Soul Food Kitchen. Have you been there at the Village of Sand Hills? We're going to go live with them at Esther's Kitchen with Chef Richard. That's tomorrow on Coping with COVID. We'll also talk to Raquel Richardson Thomas. Her business boot camp is coming up this Saturday, and I'm one of the people that will be involved in it. So we hope that you will come. And if you are a business person or entrepreneur or thinking about starting your business, it's going to be some amazing resources. That's coming up tomorrow on Coping with COVID. Coming up next week, we're going to talk with Mark Hill. He has initiated and is putting together a day of truce, getting all the gang members together to really talk about a truce. That's going to be interesting. And also, epilepsy patient and advocate Kim Hardy joins us next Friday right here on Coping with COVID. Listen, if you have a story or initiative that can help someone cope with COVID, please email booking@copingwithtreTailor.com. booking@copingwithtreTailor.com. The information is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. If you have a product or service that can help someone cope with COVID, email copingwithtreTailor@gmail.com. We would love for you to be a proud sponsor, just like SCDHEC, In It Together SC, and the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina, Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina. They sponsor Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday. Also, Javis Tax Services, Palmetto Painting Services, the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office Attorney Byron Gibson, who will be with us next week and talk about a big gun violence town hall meeting he's going to have. Also, Agape Counseling and Training Center, the Comet Bus System, Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall, and Black Expo. As always, I leave you with a reading from Jesus Calling, and today is November 4th. And today, Jesus says, walk peacefully with me throughout this day. You are wondering how you'll cope with all that expected of you. You must traverse this day just like any other day, one step at a time. Instead of mentally rehearsing how you do this or that, keep your mind on my presence and taking the next step. The more demanding your day, the more help you can expect from me. Wow. This is a training opportunity. Since I designed you for deep dependence on your shepherd king, Jesus says, challenging times wake you up and amplify your awareness of needing my help. When you don't know what to do, wait while I open the way before you. Trust me that I know what I'm doing, Jesus says, and be ready to follow my lead. Jesus says, I will give you strength, and I will bless you with peace. Man, that's good. That's your Jesus Calling for today, Thursday, November 4th. I'm Tre Tailor. Thank you again so much for joining us. Mitchell wanted to get that information about the deer again. I'd said at the beginning of the show that it is deer season, and that doesn't mean Rudolph and them. That means that if you're driving, the deer are out more now because it's mating season. So here are 6 ways to avoid hitting a deer. And like I said at the beginning of the show, I have hit a deer, or a deer hit me. I think a deer hit me. Somebody said I hit a deer. I was driving, going along my business, and the deer ran out in front of me. So here's 6 ways to avoid a deer hitting you. I like to put it on the deer. Watch for the rest of the gang. Deer are pack animals, and they rarely travel alone. Timing is everything. Deer are most active at dusk and dawn, periods when your vision is most compromised. Use your headlight first. Look for road signs. Stay center, brake, don't swerve, and honk. I didn't see the deer. I was just driving along. It was late at night, and then I just kind of saw him, and boom, that was it. I hope that doesn't happen to you. Total lost my car. Anyway, y'all, take care. God bless. Stay safe. Don't forget to wear your mask over your nose and under your chin. I'll see you tomorrow at Esther's.
Coping with COVID. Updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC. Healthy people, healthy communities. In It Together and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, presenting Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Services. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their lives. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Contact Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. And Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. Coping with COVID, brought to you by SCDHEC, In It Together, the Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connections.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.